Good evening, everyone. If you're in West Coast, maybe late afternoon, and of course, in our part of the world, is past evening and dinner time. And I'm glad that you were able to join us for this virtual alumni and
Hello.
friends gathering, College of Engineering at Wayne State. Before we start the program, I would like for those of you who joined us through Zoom, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself with your name and current title in the chat box. I hope you can find the chat box. It is, if you move your cursor in the middle of the screen, you will see that on the bottom next to the participant, there is a chat button that if you can press that, and you can go ahead and type in your name and title as we go forward, and as some of you are coming with the aliases and so on, so it's good to get to know your name. I appreciate it for that. And the another part of housekeeping here, everyone mic is being muted throughout the presentation. We will go ahead and unmute your mic during question and answer session by raising your hand when you wanted to ask a question, and from myself or from our speaker tonight. And again, under the participant, if you look at to the right-hand side on the participant, there is an option of raising hand, and we will see that you raise your hand, and we can then unmute your mic so you can ask the question. If you want, you can also type in your question through the chat box, and we can read that to everyone, and then try to answer that to best of our ability. Also, those of you who want to be able to see everybody at the given point in time, we encourage you to transition to a gallery view to see all participants and speakers. More importantly, of course, me, and of course, our keynote speaker here. Again, I want to thank you for being here. I wish we could be together. For those of you, we had a plan to be in Southern California, and our host, Dr. Nanda Kumar from Eaton, president of Eaton Aerospace, was hosting us. We had an evening together and shake hand and chat a little bit, but unfortunately, with the current situation, we could not do it. And as you're getting familiar with using virtual means to communicate, and we can even bump elbows if need to be virtually. The purpose of, I guess, today's evening would be to give you a little bit update about what's going on at the College of Engineering at Wayne State in general, and the College of Engineering specifically. And then we have a presentation by one of our alum, Mr. Nanda Kumar, who is the president of Aerospace Group of Eaton. I will introduce him a little bit later. He will be talking about leadership at a time of challenging time that we are facing currently. And after the presentation by Mr. Kumar, then we will have open it to question and answer, myself or Mr. Kumar in this case. With that in mind, let me start by saying a few things about what is going on around the university and the College of Engineering in particular. As you know, engineers are problem solvers, and this COVID-19 crisis is one of the biggest problem that any of us have ever faced in our lifetime. Very, very uncertain time. The College of Engineering responses to this worldwide health threat is one which we should be all proud of. Whether it's making PPEs, which I will go over that with you in a minute for frontline medical personnel, or expanding our virtual learning opportunities within the span of 1 week. We had to move from classroom face-to-face to virtual presentation and finishing the semester with that model. And to building also our knowledge base about this virus. All efforts, again, not only by our students and faculty, but also our alumni and friends, large and small, should be celebrated. Every week, the college puts out list of activities by our faculty and student and alumni. We call it shout outs and good news. We broadcast that. We talk about our students, the work that they are doing in the community as well. University as a whole also was very fast in responding to COVID-19, not only getting us ready to move our materials online and offer our courses and degree programs online during this window of time, very, very short window of time. But recently, for example, they offered a free general education course to qualify the student during the spring-summer semester, which we call a Kickstart College program. So if you're interested to come to Wayne State, you can take a free course in the summer, get you ready for the college in the fall semester. For the fall semester, we are currently telling our department chairs and faculty across the campus and in engineering that be prepared to do things virtually. And it's very important for us to consider doing that because we have students who are in-state or out of state or international who may not want to come back to campus because of the current situation that we are facing, uncertainty about dormitories, residential halls, when they're going to be opening, how safely we can protect individuals. And so being able to offer both online and face-to-face if needed, we are getting ready because we have time now to get ready for that time window. Also for the Motor Company and Wayne State University and Wayne State Physician Group and Access launched a new initiative that will improve access to COVID-19 testing for symptomatic first responders, healthcare workers, and correction officers in Michigan. Ford has provided us with vehicles, drivers, and equipment to help create the first mobile testing service in Michigan. These are examples of what university has done in mobile testing facilities. The college, we learned from some of our students that they have the 3D printing at home and they are manufacturing face shields. We encourage them to maybe take advantage of our existing 3D printers within the College of Engineering, which we have in 2 labs, one in our basic engineering material lab, the other one is in mechanical engineering lab. We have upward of 20 3D printers of different kinds to use those 3D printers and print face shields in much bigger, larger quantity. And since the university is shut down, the buildings are closed, we were able to get a special permission for them to go into the facility and being able to not only do face shields that you can see on the top left and middle picture of top, and be able to take these face shields, which is about 1,000 of them, to various hospitals. You can see some pictures of our students delivering these to first responders, and nursing homes, public safety on campus, as well as our campus health center. And we have also now, because these face shields, the materials are strong enough, we are now providing them with our first responder with additional shields so they can replace the existing shields with the new ones when they are done with the shields, maybe on a daily basis. We have used laser cutters to cut some of these shields, some of them by hand, because we had some issues with the materials, obtaining materials, but it was a very, very efficient. The next slide. The other things, actually, let's keep it here for a minute. If you look at the top left corner picture, beside the face shield, the frame for the face shield, you will see also face masks. We are now currently putting together some face masks. For the filters, we are using air conditioning filter materials. The face mask could be washed and reused, and filters could be replaced on a daily basis. We are working with our partners at Ford to see if we can manufacture these shields in much bigger quantities, not only for first responders, but for ourselves, for our students, for our faculty. When we open up the campus, we need to be able to cover our faces. And these shields are much more convenient and much more efficient than paper or cloth type face shields. Also, we have learned that these shields, when you put them on your face, they're really bothering your ears, especially if you have to wear them for a long time. So we put together some strips that goes behind your head, and the shields could be connected to those so it would not irritate your ears for a long time. Working with our partners at Eaton, we learned that they were making, also it's very hard to see here, touchless door openers. And we were able to get the design from them, do some small modification to it, and printing these touchless door openers. And those are much easier to print, much faster to print. And in addition, to be able to open the door without touching the door handle, there's a little notch on the edge of these door openers that we can use to use for the keypad. If you go into a grocery store, you're using ATM machine. If you're traveling by air, you go into a kiosk in general, you can use that instead of using your fingers to touch. So again, we are trying to do as much possible with what we have from manufacturing materials in a larger quantities and be able to share that with our first responders and others. In addition to that, we have other activities such as our, let's say, computer science students launched a Detroit Help Hub to support local businesses during the COVID-19 crisis. We have our faculty are working, looking at the chest X-ray to determine if someone has the COVID-19, the virus or not. We have a faculty member who use analytics and data mining from informatics side of things, identifying which drugs are more effective to treat COVID-19 patients. So again, we are doing some things around informatics because we cannot access our research labs. They're all shut down at the present time. And being able to do things we can do remotely, accessing to data and running some, using AI and machine learning to do some activities around that area. So this is, again, some of the things that we are doing around the College of Engineering to help the community, reach out to the community. And again, students who are working, some PhD students, some undergraduate students, master's students are going to these labs. These printers require maintenance and somebody needs to watch over them. They are there till 9 p.m. at night, boxing these shields and taking them to local hospitals and nursing homes in that regard. As I mentioned about preparation for the fall, we are getting, again, asking the faculty to be ready to offer courses online, telling us what courses are going to be done, can be done fully online, what courses are going to be hybrid, what is going to be the capacity of each lab, because we have to maintain social distancing and also cleaning the facilities as a group goes in, a group comes in. So there are a lot of challenges and uncertainty happening, and we are getting gradually working toward how to reopen the campus to make sure that it's safe for all. The other initiative that we took over as a college since last fall, as we closed our capital campaign for the College of Engineering and University, during the last campaign, we were able to close around $56 million raise fund for various activities, student scholarships, some infrastructures, and so on. My board of visitors are asking me what should we do getting ready for the next campaign, what the college wants to do. And we took our existing strategic plan, which basically talked about improving the quality of life through education, innovation, and research. We enhanced it by creating a new theme called Closing the Gap. The whole idea here is that we need partnership with industry. That was my message. Again, Eaton Aerospace is one of our corporate partners. We need industry to join force with us to train the workforce of the future. We can't do it alone anymore. For many reasons, we don't have enough resources, faculty resources, facility resources, and also sometimes in our curriculum, we are very limited in what we can offer and we cannot offer. So we are asking certain activities that we can do with our corporate partners, with our industry in Detroit and beyond. Certain things which are very simple things to do, like when we have a PhD dissertation committee, usually for every PhD we form a committee, mainly of faculty. College has about 300 PhD students of various programs, various departments. We are asking that each PhD dissertation committee be encouraged to include a member of industry, so we can learn about our research, learn about our faculty, our student, learning and helping us to maybe move an idea from laboratory to market. If it's more theoretical, how we can commercialize that idea. These are important learning things for all of us. So we more interact with the industry, the better we get. And we are in Detroit, we want to take advantage of that. If you're seeing something missing from our curriculum, help us to teach those materials. First, let us know. If we can offer it ourselves, we will do it. But if we cannot, we don't have resources, we would love to have you guys join our force and teach that to our students. For example, we have someone from Fiat Chrysler currently teaching, or taught, I'm sorry, last semester a course for us in data mining. We do teach data mining quite a bit in our college, data science. But their focus was in automotive industry, how that data mining applies to automotive industry. And that was very attractive to a lot of our students. They loved it. Get to know some industry leader, get to know how to apply some of the theoretical work that we are teaching. And that person taught that course for us, not our normal regular hours, but depends on what their schedule permits. We offer them. And by the way, we are not only looking at technical, we are looking at soft skill too. If you think somebody can improve our student communication, presentation skills, preparing their LinkedIn page better, we can present those to our students. Can be done virtually, can be done face-to-face, depends on where you are. Adopting a course, basically saying that if you wanted to come and guest lecture for us in some of our courses and work our faculty to improve the content of the course, that would be an attractive thing. If you have a problem that you want us to look at and solve, we will definitely encourage you to join us and bring that problem to the campus, to our students, to let them solve it for you. Now, in the past, we used to consider that to be our senior capstone design project. But that is limiting us to only our undergraduate student. That also limits to a given discipline, a silo at the same time. And it's kind of maybe too late in the student cycle to do something like that to be attractive maybe for industry that you want to hire them. So we are saying if you bring a project to us, we identify a team of students, could be graduate, could be undergraduate, could be domestic, could be international, of all different disciplines to put together to solve a problem for you. And by the way, you're going to be teaching that course. So this is another thing that we wanted to do, helping us with distinguished lecture series and participating industry mentor program. Some of you have already done that. I want to thank you for that. Audrey Stephan will get back with you if you are interested. Contact Audrey Stephan. She will get you involved to mentoring our students through industry mentor program. We do a lot of outreach in Detroit. Some example I gave you here, but also K through 12 and summer teaching. We want you to get involved. And lastly, but more importantly, creating industry centers of excellence, helping us to create industry centers of excellence around the things that we have hired faculty, we have expertise, such as mobility, such as electrification and technology, such as software testing. We are talking about factory of the future. So we partner with us to create these centers of excellence that does basic research, industry funded projects, and also does educational program, leadership program, educational program. So this is what we call Close the Gap. And Chris can send you some more information about these initiatives and how you can participate in that. I think my time is up. I tried to speak as fast as I could, but they're giving me signals that you get off the mic and give the mic to Nanda Kumar, who is president of Aerospace Group of Eaton. He received his master's degree from us in 1992 in mechanical engineering. He received a bachelor of mechanical engineering from Bangalore University in India, and master's degrees in business administration from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Prior to his current role, he was executive vice president, Eaton Business System. Also, Kumar joined Eaton in 1990 and held position of increasing responsibilities in automotive business intelligence, including plant manager for the facilities in Roxborough, North Carolina, and Mass, Italy, and general manager for the air induction and cylinder head system business in that regard. He is served in many boards, and he is on the YMCA of Greater Cleveland, as well as member of the Inclusion and Diversity Council for the University of Michigan College of Engineering. And he's a member of our Hall of Fame and member of the College of Engineering Board of Visitors. With that short introduction, Nanda, you have the mic.
All right. Thanks, Professor Farshad. Appreciate the opportunity here to talk to this audience here, and especially at a time like this. I wish I had the opportunity to see, at least some of you, I'm sure, were planning to be at Irvine, where we had planned an in-person event. And You know, it's a beautiful day here in Irvine. It's about 80 degrees, and it would have been a wonderful occasion to be here on Cinco de Mayo in particular. But we'll save that for the future here. You know, Professor Farshad asked me to focus on leading in turbulent times here, given that the really at this point in time, the industry is going through some major upheaval here in the last 7 weeks or so. So I will spend time talking about that. But before I do that, let me give you a brief introduction to what is Eaton all about. As Farshad mentioned, I've been with the company about 30 years now, and I've been leading the aerospace business of Eaton for about 5 years. Next slide. So I'm not sure if everyone can see the slide. It seems like it's.
Is it truncated?
Yeah, it looks truncated to me. I don't know if everybody has that same issue.
I can see it okay.
Yeah, I can see it okay. You may need to close a lot of your screens to make sure you get to see everything. Nandan, go ahead, please.
Okay, so Eaton basically has got two sectors. You know, we have the electrical sector and the industrial sector. So we report externally. You know, we're about 22 billion in size, and we report externally through through these 6 segments that I've shown here, which would be the electrical products, electrical systems, aerospace, hydraulics, vehicle, and e-mobility. And I lead the aerospace group here. In 2012, when we acquired the Cooper Industries, we inverted and became an Irish company based in Dublin. And our chairman and CEO, Craig Arnold, he's based in Cleveland, in Ohio. That's where our world headquarters is. But all our board meetings are held in Dublin, in Ireland. Roughly 100,000 employees, 175 countries. Next slide. And so this is the overview of Eaton itself. And you can see that we're about 2 billion in 2019 sales. Actually, we made an acquisition at the end of 2019 that would have put us at about 2.7 billion in 2020. And we made the acquisition of Surya Sunbank, which is an aircraft connector company that's based in France. Roughly 10,000 employees, 35 global facilities, including a joint venture in China with Comac. And Comac, as you know, is the upcoming aspiring aircraft manufacturer in China. You know, they're building the C919 and the C929. I'm based in Irvine, in California, which is where the headquarters of the Eaton Aerospace business is. And then we run the business in 3 different divisions, as you see there in the chart. Next slide. So we support the aerospace industry, you know, in virtually all the platforms that you can imagine. I would say that if there's an aircraft flying or a spaceship flying, I would say that there's a very, very high probability that there's at least one Eaton part in it. And I'll show you the breadth of our portfolio here. So we are in the commercial transport. So we are in all the big aircraft, single aisle, twin aisle. We are in the regional jets and the business jets. So Gulfstream is a big customer of ours. Boeing and Airbus make up about 40% of our business. We have great content on the military fighters. So the F-35 is a great platform for us. And so is some of the military aircraft like the C-17 or the KC-46. You see the tanker there that's shown there. That's refueling a fighter. We make the pump that pumps fuel from the tanker into the fighter. We're in a lot of the helicopters, like the CH-53K. We're in several space vehicles. The ground fueling is again a large business for us. We have significant. Carter is a brand that we have significant content in, and then aftermarket's a big segment for us, and we've got about 40% of our business is the aftermarket business. About 35% of our business is military. Next slide. So when you look at our portfolio here, you see, the kind of technology that we have. We are the world leaders in hydraulic systems. So this is all of power generation, power distribution, storage, and then we are a lot of the conveyance on the inside the aircraft also comes from us. The fuel systems, the same thing. We are the world leaders in engine fuel systems, so the engine fuel pumps, the aircraft airframe fuel distribution, inerting gauging, ground fueling. So when you talk about hydraulics and fuel systems in the aerospace industry, there's two players that come in mind. One is Eaton and the other is Parker Hannifin. And then the conveyance associated with all these hydraulics and fuel systems, you see associated with the engine solutions, the airframe, pneumatics. And then we have some niche motion control products associated with utility actuation, things like the strap trim actuator on the aircraft, or the door opener, cargo door openers and things like that. And then the electrical power, this is a relatively new business for us. We got a small business on connectors when we made the Cooper acquisition, and Eaton's having a large electrical portfolio combined with the aerospace expertise. We consider ourselves to be very well positioned for the more electric aircraft. So as the aircraft emerges in the future, as you see the future generations of aircraft that'll come out in the next 15, 20 years, they're all going to be more electric. And more electric means the aircraft needs to generate more power, be able to distribute more power inside the aircraft. And we are positioning ourselves to grow in that segment with the portfolio that we have. Next slide. So the history of the business is very strong. When you look at the business itself here in 2012, we were about a 1.6 billion business, and that has grown to 2 billion in 2019, and in 2020 it would be 2.7 billion. This is before the crisis hit, the pre-COVID here. So a strong growth rate and a strong performance, margin improvement. You can see that our margins are virtually doubled in that 7-year time frame. Leveraging the Eaton Business System, has been the key reason for the growth and margins. The focus that we brought into the aftermarket, which is a very profitable segment for us, and then modernizing our factories using Industry 4.0, additive manufacturing that Farshad touched on. Program execution, in the aerospace world, it's really all about program execution. It's all about how well you deliver on the products that you make for your customers and all the new platforms that we are in. We've expanded our low-cost footprint. We've expanded significantly in Mexico, in India, in China, in Indonesia, and all these countries. We've expanded significantly, and our footprint is now global. And then we also got, the Eaton model of shared services. So, for instance, we have a group of 2,000 engineers in Pune that do a lot of our engineering work, support work, And about 400 out of those engineers work for the aerospace group, and the rest of them work for the rest of the company. So the shared service is a unique model that Eaton is able to use because of our diverse portfolio of the different product lines that we have. Next slide. So we are positioned for sustained profitable growth as you look into the future here. I talked a little bit about inorganic growth through acquisitions. And then organic, we are in all the key platforms that are coming up here and growing: the A320neo, the A350, the 787, and a lot of the military platforms. We have good content on it and growing. We're continuing to invest in the business, growing with disruptive technologies, especially in the more electric aircraft. And then manufacturing excellence is the other area that we have been making a lot of investments in. So these are the 4 areas that we are investing significantly to really take the business into the next couple of generations and give it further growth. Next. So switching gears on to what's going on at this time. So clearly, it's an unprecedented time for the industry in the last 7 weeks, and the impact has been huge. But Eaton is considered one of the Eaton is considered an essential service in the industry because the parts that we produce are very critical for aircraft that are carrying a lot of medical supplies inside the country and across the world. So our factories have virtually not shut down during this time. We have been running the entire time. Now the absenteeism in the factories varies. Some of the, I would say 90% of the factories have got very good attendance. About 10% of the factories we are seeing some high absenteeism, in areas that may be some hot spots. But overall, the reason that one of the reasons that our factories have had employees come to work and not feel unsafe is because we were one of the first ones to quickly deploy social distancing. So we have rearranged all our workstations, rearranged our factories to put minimum 6 feet between the employees. We have temperature monitoring of everybody that's coming into the factory. We have basically taken out all the employees that don't need to be in the factory and asked them to work from home. And only people that need to be in the factory are in the factory. And then everybody is now required to wear masks as well. And so I believe that we have not had any, knock on wood, we haven't had any issues in any of our 400 factories across the company where somebody has been adversely impacted because of coming to work. And but the overall impact on this industry and our business, basically due to the coronavirus, for the short term is going to be huge. And it all starts with really the confidence in the air travel. I was just reading a statistic here yesterday that 2.5 million people went through the TSA checkpoint exactly a year ago on April, I believe it was on April 19th or 20th, one of those days. And then this year in April, on that same date, only 195,000 people went through the TSA checkpoint. So the magnitude of change is breathtaking in the industry. So today there's a lot of aircraft that is parked. There's about 15,000 aircraft that are parked. And as you think about it, we don't believe that all that aircraft will come back anytime soon. In fact, that this may be the time when a lot of the aircraft will get retired. The aircraft that are older than 15 years are likely to get retired at this point in time. The airline cash position is really the biggest issue right now, and the whole viability of the airlines is a major issue. So So when people are not flying, obviously they can't buy any new aircraft, and then they're also clamping down on the supply of MRO and things like that. Not that they take any risk with the aircraft, but just that they don't need to fly that much, so they don't need all that, all the spare parts and things like that. And so that affects our aftermarket business significantly. And I was just reading today that Delta is now I saw a letter from Delta that said that they're going to have 50% of the business class at full at any point in time. So they won't be filling up more than 50% of the business class and 60% of the economy, and they're going to leave the middle seats empty, is what they said. And so, given all that, I think it's going to be very difficult for the airlines to make money, because I don't think they can afford to raise prices in this environment. I don't think that'll go very far. So it's a tough road for the next couple of years until a vaccine or and a cure are in place. And I think at that point, I believe that the industry will come back, because the fundamentals are still there in terms of people wanting to travel, people being connected, and so it will quickly come back after that. It's until then that all the issues exist. There is a significant issue in the wide body segment. So in the wide body is the twin aisle segment. So that segment is literally shut down because there are no international flights. All the borders have been shut down. And so the need for a 787 and the A350 and all these wonderful new aircraft is nearly vaporized. And so that segment will take a while to come back. And it will come back again eventually as things, as a cure is found for the virus. There is excess capacity in the industry as a result of this. Everybody put in a lot of capacity to build a lot of single aisle aircraft and twin aisle aircraft. So there's excess capacity that would need to be right sized. The air traffic growth is likely to be slower. It was on an average, we were seeing there was about 5% growth in air traffic, which means 5% new people were getting into an aircraft every year. So, and this was all coming in the emerging countries. That's where a lot of the air traffic growth was happening. We see that slowing down. It won't be down to zero or negative. And right now it is negative, but I think over the long term, that may slow down as well. And then, of course, associated with all of this, with the recession now, with 2 quarters of negative GDP and the economic uncertainties is tremendous. So it's really, nothing like we have ever seen in our lifetimes in terms of what's going on in the aviation industry in particular. Next slide. So how are we dealing with this, right? I talked about, first of all, how we are as a company dealing with this in terms of, first of all, protecting our own employees, right? Keeping a distance, washing hands thoroughly and frequently, and all the guidelines that we have in our cafeterias, avoiding people from congregating, no in-person meetings, and so on and so forth. A lot of the standard practices which really have taken root in the industry in the last 7 weeks or so is working out well. Next. And these are just some of the pictures in terms of how the social distancing is working here, between temperature screenings, restricting visitors, and how we have separated the workstations and so on. That just to give you a quick visual of how things actually are working. Next slide. And so how will we weather the storm as a company? How are we going to weather the storm? First and foremost, strong support to our customers. So this is a time where customers are having a lot of difficulty in forecasting, predicting what they want, what they need. And I think we need to be there for our customers. And so working with them at this time becomes even more important. Becoming close to our customers becomes even more important now. And the second area is that the good thing going for us is that the military market is very strong. And that is different from some of the previous downturns. In some of the previous downturns, both the commercial market segment and the military segment both went down at the same time. But in this downturn, the military segment is a real plus. And the government, the Department of Defense, is making a lot of steps there, asking the aerospace manufacturers in terms of what they can pull forward, what they can do to give us more volumes so that we can sustain our factories and keep our factories running while the commercial markets are down and take their time to recover. So we are capitalizing on that military market strength, and it's not just pulling forward future sales, but we're also taking some really innovative solutions into upgrading our military here, with the products that we have. So full court press in that area in terms of what we can do to get more upside. On cash flow, really cash is king in this environment. So really, really important that we are not forecasting earnings, we're not forecasting growth at this point in time. We have suspended all those forecasts. What we are doing now is just completely focused on cash flow. So it's all about inventory liquidation, keeping our inventory under control, keeping our receivables, keeping our payables, and keeping our capital expenses all under a very tight lid. So I think the companies that are going to do an exceptional job with cash flow are the ones that are going to survive this crisis, because otherwise we can all get into big trouble. And this is where I think there's a lot of assistance being given to the smaller suppliers in the aerospace industry, where cash can become a major issue because they're small in size and they don't have the resources and the ability to do it. So the industry is really very conscious about that and working with our smaller suppliers to make sure that they also continue to do well. Strong operational performance, easier said than done when absenteeism is running high, when the governments are shutting us down, in different countries, when people are afraid to come to work. It's a very difficult environment right now in terms of being able to service our customers. But we are working together and we are doing our best in terms of continuing to provide our customers with product on time and making sure that there is no shortfalls in terms of their needs. We are also going to look at inorganic opportunities. Of course, this is not the time to go buy any company, but as the industry settles down here in the coming months, April was a difficult month where things were down about 70%, but May is looking better, June will get even better, and as we go through the year, things will get better and better. And as the industry settles down, I think we also see that we could be in the inorganic domain again and maybe make some acquisitions and grow. The new acquisition that we made with the Surya Sun Bank, the integration of that business is really important. That adds about $500 million to our portfolio, and so making sure that business is well integrated and putting that on a growth track is really important. And then last but not the least, managing our supply chain risk. We have over 1,800 suppliers that are supplying to this portfolio of the aerospace business, and making sure that all those suppliers remain viable, and especially our key suppliers stay in business and can continue to do well, and also keep their employees safe. I think is really important. So that's really how we see ourselves in terms of how we are going to deal with it. We are active in our communities. We have Eaton Charitable Fund that is matching donations from the employees, 2:1. And so we are very active with the United Way and the hospitals and several other organizations in terms of playing a key role in our communities. So it's not just about our factories, it's also about making a difference and being there for our communities with our employees. And this is the work that we are doing with our additive manufacturing, and Farshad already talked about this in terms of the 3D printed hands-free door openers and very similar things that you saw there that the Wayne State team was doing in terms of face shields and things like that we are printing and supplying to various communities and hospitals and all our employees as well. So at the end of the day, it is a difficult time for the aerospace industry, for the aviation world, no doubt. But the fundamentals of the industry are very strong. If you think about it, we have, between the United States and Western Europe, we have the best product in the world in terms of the aircraft. There's nobody and nothing that can come close in terms of that differentiated product that we have in all our segments, whether it is commercial jets, whether it is business jets, whether it's military aircraft, you name it, we have the best product in the world. So while the world is going to go through some turmoil here, at the end of the day, I think we will come back as an industry. We are going to be strong again, and our future is bright. I feel very good about this industry and the future of this industry, no doubt in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. And I love the way that you ended your presentation, that our future is bright. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, but hope is there that we will survive. And you talked about your industry during this turmoil, how you're thinking about sustaining relationship with your customers, best practice services to the customers. In higher education, in academia, we have the same struggles. We have challenges of how to deliver best services to our students during this time window. Again, virtual, we all overnight we'll learn how to do virtual things, but can we do everything virtually or not? How do we adopt? And also, we are not sure if the students are going to be coming back in the fall or not. Some universities are opening their doors. They're already making comments that they're going to be opening business as usual. Some a little bit more careful about doing that. So there are task force around Wayne State, for example, of many different task force, looking at different aspects of opening up the university. And I think it's the bigger challenge we're facing during this time. It's very similar to what you said, cash flow and so on, is that universities are going to get double whammies. One is enrollment may drop. Our international enrollment is certainly going to be impacted because a lot of the students who were international students who used to come to our engineering programs are not going to be able to get visas and travel. So we have to somehow figure out how to deal with that. And then also domestic students may not be want to come back to campus because of the safety issues the parents have, or they may want to be closer to home. Wayne State might benefit from that because we are more of a known as a commuter school, people coming and going. And then state funding, which is 20% of our budget, may be draining because of the state investing a lot on this emergency fund for COVID-19. And we don't know what they're going to be able to support or not. And higher education would be one of the easiest place to cut budget and not allocate the funding that they have. So we have a lot of challenges ahead of us in higher education, but there are some similarities with what you are doing in your world and what we are doing. With that, again, thank you very much, Nanda. I mean, it was great to hear about what Eaton is doing. It's Eaton Aerospace, and I know we have partnered with your team in Southfield in your additive manufacturing and help developing some of the things that we have talked about earlier here tonight. And hopefully we can continue working together in that domain. With that in mind, I guess we are at the portion of the presentation that we are having an audience participants, if they will have any questions, by either raising hand typing a chat or whatever, so we can get you a mic. So we are all ears to hear your questions, Todd, from Nanda or myself. If you have a private jet, you want to sell it or you want to know the value of it, Anton can give you the cost associated with that. If you want to buy an airplane, a used one of the Delta's flight airplane, you let us know. We will help you with that. With that in mind, go
So
ahead.
Dean Fotouhi, I'll step in for a second. So good evening, everybody. My name is Ann, and myself and my colleague Haley are out there. We're with the Alumni Association. We're alumni relations officers with the university. So her and I are going to help kind of monitor the Q&A here and help direct questions to Dean Fotouhi and Nanda. So please feel free, like was just mentioned, you can use the raise hand feature or you can type the questions in the chat box. And Haley and I will either call on you and then you can unmute yourself. So stay muted if you don't mind for right now until we call on you, or just physically type a question into the chat box if you have one, and we can kind of shoot those your way, Dean and Nanda, as those come through.
I have a question and a comment to make for Nanda, and a comment. One of our alum who's participating, who doesn't like to fly much, who's here from California, from Irvine. Oliver, I'm talking about you, that he prefers to ride his motorcycles everywhere. So you have to now to ask the question about airlines. But I have a question for Nanda. You mentioned there's going to be a good number of airlines that they're going to be probably retiring some of their airplanes. So the question about retiring an airplane, of course, from engineering point of view, we're looking at sustainability and reusability, the life cycle of an airplane. Besides saying that I can sell that to some other countries, those airplanes, but the one that you cannot be sold, are there ways to recycle these and remanufacture them and so on and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the aircraft in the old days, they used to fly aircraft 25 to 30 years before they would even think of retiring the aircraft. But today it's not uncommon that after about 15 years, they do, because I think the technology has evolved so much, because you got all these new, more and more fuel efficient engines that have come in. I think, for instance, it's likely that by the end of this downturn, you may never see another 4-engine aircraft. Because the A380s, they've started building those, and the probability of them being able to fill up 500 or 600 people in an A380 is remote to nil for the foreseeable future. So a lot of the 4-engine aircraft are going to be parked maybe forever. So that way you're seeing that the aircraft interiors have significantly developed with technology and so on. So the replacement cycles have shortened in the aircraft from 30 years. Now it's more like 15, 20 years people are willing to replace aircraft. But what happens with this aircraft is that when they come out of service is that there is a segment that's called the surplus segment. So that's used, they're called the used and serviceable material, USM. And so the aircraft gets parted out. And so those parts that can be used, that have capability to live another 15 years come back into the industry in the aftermarket. And in fact, I heard that since the airlines have taken money from the government here through the $2 trillion package that the government put out, they cannot lay off anybody until I believe it's October, November this year. So what they're having their technicians basically do is one possibility is that, I'm not saying all of them are doing it, but one possibility is that you have them part out all aircraft and you start stocking your shelves with spare parts. So that's a big impact on cash outlay as you go forward, and you're making good use of your skilled labor. They're all not sitting around doing nothing.
Thank you. Oliver, if you want to make your motorcycles be faster, you can use some of these aircraft parts. He's a Harley Davidson man. Go ahead.
Okay, so I see a question there that what effect, I think the question was, what effect will all this have on bringing the MAX back to service or the Dreamliner from Boeing? I think the MAX, fortunately for Boeing, I think the focus has turned away from the MAX. I think they couldn't drop a nut or bolt inside a MAX without being reported by the media before the crisis hit. But now I think that's off, and Boeing is able to actually focus with the FAA and get the aircraft certified. My confidence is high that the aircraft will get certified sometime in the third quarter. And but they have 800 aircraft sitting on the ground, right? So they have 400 new aircraft that they have built since the aircraft was grounded in March of last year. And then there's 400 aircraft that had already been purchased that have also been grounded. So all that the 400 aircraft that have been grounded, there is some rewiring that they need to do on that and get them certified and back in the air. But then they got the other 400 aircraft that have never flown that have to get back in the air. The constraint there is the availability of training, the simulators for training. So they're in short supply on that, because the assumption was that if someone could fly a 737NG, you don't need to be trained on the 737 MAX. So they only built 36 of those simulators. And that was a big issue. And there's 177 of the 737NG simulators. So now they're retooling all of that. And I think there's just one. I heard the American Airlines, for instance, has got 7,000 pilots to train on the MAX. So that's the real constraint in terms of now bringing the aircraft back in service, and also the number of aircraft that a specific airline can bring online in a given month is maybe 2 to 3, right? And I know there's a lot of different airlines involved. So it's going to be a while before they get that 800 aircraft all, flying again. Meanwhile, I think what Boeing is saying right now is that they are going to be building very few 737 MAXes this year, and then they'll start a low build rate next year, and then ramp up from 2022 onwards. By which time hopefully they have all the issues behind them. The Dreamliner, the 787, is that's a fantastic aircraft. It's got great demand. They're building at about 14 now that they've reduced it now to about 10 a month. And I think there's a structural issue in the twin aisle. I think the twin aisle segment is going to take a while to recover from the downturn. So there's just not the need for all these A350s and 787s, and then you have the 777X, the new one that's coming out with the folded wings technology, that Boeing is expecting to get certified next year. Some really fantastic aircraft, just no doubt about it, but I think it's going to be a while before they see a lot of demand for those big twin aisle aircraft.
Thank you.
I see a question. Neil, you can ask. Nabil?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay, let me just, everybody can see me. It's very good to see you, Nanda. I really enjoyed your presentation and your positive outlook to the economy and how excited about having the industry going back. We understand it's a bad cloud and it will pass and the sun will shine again. But what are your thoughts on dealing with back-to-back crisis with the talk of second wave of coronavirus and its impact on industry and the overall economy?
Yeah, first of all, great to see you online here, Professor Chalab. And he's for the rest of the team here on this call. He's one of my professors from the time I was at Wayne State. So I have great respect for him, and it's a real pleasure to see him online here. Great question, Professor. To me, they're all running together in terms of the impact of the coronavirus. It really doesn't matter wave 1, wave 2. It can't get worse than what it is right now for the aerospace industry. What it will mean if there's a wave 2 is that the recovery will go to a deep U-shaped curve, or it should be an L-shaped curve with maybe a little left at the end. So the recovery will get extended out as long as we can't get people back to flying again. And I think it's all going to come down to when a vaccine and a medicine are available, because that's the only time people are going to be comfortable flying again, right? And when you think about our own workforce here, to minimize the risk here with all our office and factory employees, what we are doing is, first of all, anybody that can work from home, that can do their job effectively from home, we want them to work from home, right? So just to minimize the risk here until the government has defined 3 phases here in terms of how we get back to work, right? And the first phase here is to just bring back 1/3 of the employees that really need to be at work, but still keeping majority of the workforce out. But one of the key things in that phase 1 is also to continue the travel restrictions. So we have basically put a ban on all travel in the company. And so people are using, Zoom was unknown 7 weeks ago. So people are using Zoom and all the available technologies here. And so we will only allow essential travel here for our employees, until we get to phase 3. So phase 3 is when we feel that there is a vaccine and a cure that's effective, that doesn't put our employees at risk. Right? The second group, the other group of employees that is in consideration here is the vulnerable group. So that group, we are telling them, don't come to work at all. Even if you're needed to be if your work cannot be done at home, you take one of the government programs and stay at home, because we don't want you to get exposed coming to work. And same thing with caregivers. So if people need to stay at home for family reasons or other caregiving obligations where they may have somebody else that's of high risk in their home, then we're asking those employees as well to stay at home. So that's going to be a challenge in terms of how you manage the workforce. Now, I will say that 80% of the workforce doesn't fall into this category. So when you think about it, 80 to 85% of our workforce will be just fine coming back to work and working on a daily basis. And it'll be about 15 to 20% of the workforce that will be affected by their inability to go work in a workplace, in a regular workplace, and may need some accommodation here and support from the community, from the government, from the companies until things recover here. So economically, I think the whole aviation and travel industry will continue to struggle and that'll have a big ripple effect on the economy, I believe. Until we can get a vaccine and a cure in place.
Thank you.
I believe there was another question that just came up. Yeah, the question is, what are your thoughts on Warren Buffett's comments and actions about the future of the airline industry? Of course, he sold all his airline stock, and I think he sold it at a loss of $1 billion, I believe, that he sold it. And it doesn't surprise us that that there's a loss of confidence in the whole airline industry at this point. It's not the aerospace industry; it's the airline that are in trouble because of all the excess capacity that they have in place, and with all that idle aircraft that's sitting on the ground, and everything that's going on with that industry. There's even some talk that yesterday, I believe it was the American Airlines chairman, and he has said this in the past, that the airlines need to be viewed like the utility companies. You cannot do without them. People need them because people have to travel from place to place, and not everybody can ride a motorcycle from California to Detroit, right? And so the airlines are going to be needed, and they're going to need to run them like a utility company, going forward, if that's what it takes, which means worst case, the government may need to take them and run them for a while until the industry stabilizes, and then hand them back over to the private sector, at some point in time. But that's a real possible scenario, I think, that could happen. And so not surprising that people want to bail on the airlines at this point in time.
Dean Fotouhi, it looks like we had a question come in for you in the chat too. Robert asked, what is your best guess regarding the status of campus in the fall?
The campus is going to be still there. The brick and mortars are going to be there. That's a promise. We're not going to destroy any campus and campus buildings. In terms of people going into the facilities, research is planning on opening up research facilities to plan opening up sooner than the classroom activities. So our vice president for research and group of faculty members are discussing about how best to start opening our research labs. Again, following the social distancing, face masks, cleansing the area, washing hands, and so on. So we'll be doing that. And that would be a good dry run for us, because the volume of the students coming to campus and the number of students for that purpose mainly would be research faculty and research students. And then for the fall, we are probably going to see some limited number of students being allowed to campus, maybe in different groups, different shifts coming and going. So, but it's not going to be open business as usual fully as we had before. We will not have probably football games. We're going to have a virtual tailgate. We will have activities around different activities around the university, and alumni all going to be mainly done virtually. So 2021 is my best guess that we're going to be back to normal, January, winter 2021, when the campus back to normal. But till then, we have to take it very slow, because there are many people that we put at risk. If you're not worried about your own health, but you have to worry about those employees or students who are coming, who might have dealing with elder parents, dealing with child at home. We have to be very careful what we are doing in that regard.
And also for you, Dean Fotouhi, Carl in the chat has a couple questions. He says, this meeting is great. Do you plan to have more like this in the future? And he also says, I was the first WSU co-op student to work at Dow Chemical. It was a great experience for me in Dow. Does the school still offer a co-op program for students?
Number one, Great to hear from you, Carl, that you work at the Dow Chemical. We have a good number of alumni who are currently there or retired from Dow. And we have a strong partnership also with BASF here in Detroit, downriver. And a lot of our students, chemical engineering in particular, are recruited by them. And currently we have online, we have the chair of chemical engineering, also Dr. Jeff Potoff is there. But regarding the co-op, first of all, we brought in as high impact practices, career services within the College of Engineering. So within engineering, we have our own career services that they do bring in employees to recruit our students. We have provided students with co-op, summer internship, full-time opportunities through this exercise. And we have also created a corporate partner program. Again, Eaton is a member of our corporate partner program. As part of that corporate partnership with our industry, we were able to afford to provide students with internship and co-op opportunities for those specific corporate partners to our coming together once a quarter to talk about our curriculum, our program across the entire engineering. That all said, the new chair of civil and environmental engineering, Dr. Bill Schuster, who joined us last fall from EPA, started working with our career service office to establish a formal co-op program with industry in Detroit. So again, the formal co-op would be a semester on, semester off, year on, year off. And he's started implementing that within civil and environmental engineering department. And if that leads to a better outcome, then we will continue expanding that to other part of the college. All right.
Looks like that might be it from the chat. So I'll turn it back over to you, Dean Fotouhi. And
so thank you. It was great. And also Carl asked, this was a great opportunity to do virtual. Now that we can do it, we will be doing it. And we will do Zoom and others. And I think we might be able to, even if the travels becomes normal and everything else, being able to jump week in, week out to different locations. So Zoom would be a great way to do it, bring people together. Even if physically we are at a given location, we can Zoom that meeting, live streaming it to other locations, people can participate, bringing people like Nanda to talk to you about their industry, the future of the industry, how they impact industry, and so on. So we can identify the speakers like Nanda to come and talk. So we will do that, Carl. I promise you we will do that. But before we get off the, and I say my departing message, we talked about airplanes and airlines. I have a surprise for all of you. Can I share a screen here? Can you give me the control so I can share a screen? I have my surprise for you guys.
Yes, you should be able to share now, Dean Fotouhi.
All right, let's see, share a screen. So we talked about, again, airline and airplanes. And I want to share with you that there is one among you who are attending this event who doesn't like airplane. He crashes airplane for fun, for science. And this is the picture of that someone loading a plane with passengers to crash it. Can you believe this? Who's that person? Can you raise your hand and say about why did you do that?
I can unmute. I think I'm unmuted, right?
Oh, yeah, you're the guilty person.
So this is one of the uses for a plane when you retire it. I was just thinking that when Nanda was presenting. So we
Cindy,
actually got this.
Introduce yourself to everyone.
I'm Cynthia Bird. I'm the new chair of biomedical engineering at Wayne State. So I've been there I came in the fall like Bill did, and but I've been there prior. So I have several years in at Wayne State, just not consecutive. But this was a project that was brought to me by a production company. They wanted to look at the they wanted to fill the whole plane full of crash test dummies, and we ended up only really being able to afford to put about 3 of them in. And this is a 727 plane. It was on autopilot, and they actually remote controlled it with another plane, a chase plane, and we ended up doing a crash into a dry lake bed and collecting data on the crash test dummies to see what the effect would be during a crash. So we had one in a crash position, we had one upright, we had one in the front of the plane, one in the back of the plane, and so yeah, this was probably the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, besides chairing the department and being involved with Wayne State. But yeah, no, this is one of the coolest things I was ever able to be involved in. So
you can see, Nanda, this is reusability of that products that you don't want to get rid of.
exactly.
Wow, yeah.
And I heard a rumor that you can actually go and pay, I think, a peso. We did this down in Mexico to walk through this plane that was crashed. So they have it set up on the side of the road, and people actually go and walk through this plane that we crashed in the middle of the desert. So, yep, it was a great experience.
Cindy, graduate of our college and worked at USC for a while, and then we brought her back to chair our biomedical engineering department. We're so excited having her here on our campus and working with us. And we have some articles coming up about some of the work that she's doing for some TV show or currently. You want to say a few words about that, Cindy, before we put up?
Yeah, sure. We just finished filming. Well, I wasn't involved in all of it, but the beginning part of the Titan Games, the show that Dwayne Johnson's currently doing, The Rock. It's a competition show where they've put 2 people up against each other with different challenges. And so I had a team of people that went in and evaluated all the contestants and determined, and did a combine and ranked them. And so we actually were part of that, who got to be on the show type of thing. So, but it was a really fun experience as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so now,
and Jeff, I don't know where the safest place to sit on the plane is. It depends on how it crashes. We went nose first, and the entire first class was wiped out. But you saw planes, I think it was up in San Francisco, it hit tail first, and the people in first walked away. So it all depends.
Great. So there is no way to escape. But you have to make sure you have your face mask on if something like that happens.
Exactly.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. We have, again, some of our chairs here. Of course, Nabil Shalib, chair of our mechanical. I have Lauren Schreiber, chair of computer science, who also joined us here. And Jeff Padov, as I mentioned, chair of chemical engineering, is here. Bill Schuster, chair of civil and environmental engineering, and Leslie Montpensier, chair of I can say the former chair or chair of the industrial and systems engineering of the college. Simon Ng, associate dean for graduate. Wei Song Shi, chair of associate dean for research, also joined us tonight. Of course, alumni affair teams and several alumni who were on the call. Again, I wanted to thank you. This was great to hear from Nanda. And during this time window that the university was shut down, we were not quiet, not only helping the community, but taught our courses, finished the semester, and brought into spring, summer also, we are doing remote and distance learning type technologies. Also, importantly, you will read about it shortly, we came up with 4 new degree programs in the college, which we feel like they are going to be very timely degree programs. Degree program, Master of Science in Robotics. In several different departments, they're going to be offering different angles of robotics, from manufacturing to smart cities and so on, and control and surgical robotics. We have done a master's degree in environmental and sustainable engineering from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. We have a Bachelor of Science in welding, metallurgical engineering. We partner with community colleges. They do the welding, we do the metallurgical engineering program. We have also a Bachelor of Science in information technology that is also been approved and we will be able to offer that program in the fall. That said, we are also working with the Department of Biomedical Engineering and Computer Science to look into offering 2 master degrees online. In computer science, the master degree within computer science focus in autonomous driving and technology, and in civil engineering, biomedical engineering would be a master of science in biomedical engineering, focusing on injury biomechanics, like crash testings and so on that you saw, the impact that. Of course, they look at all aspects of injury biomechanics, from traumatic brain injuries to blasts and things like crashes that you see, or even in sport contacts. So with that in mind, I want to thank you all for participating tonight, asking questions, and I look forward to interacting with you. Chris Tyson will be, if you have any question more about it, you want to learn about some of the things we discussed and how to help the college in various angles, please don't hesitate to reach out to Chris, and she will be sharing that information with you. And I want to again thank you, Nanda. I'm very jealous in 80-degree temperature and a beautiful blue sky in Southern California. And of course, you can see Dr. Cindy Berry is here in Detroit and suffering. I'm not going to tell her where you are. That's the beauty of the whole Zoom situation. I had a Zoom call the other day. There was one guy in Alaska, one in China, one in Portland, Oregon, and I was in Detroit. It was just an amazing way of doing conversation nowadays. But again, I mean, it was good for the manufacturing. I guess they used to do this, corporate America, but in higher education, we didn't used to do that. Now we are faced to do that as well too. But with that in mind, thank you again. I have a great evening, everyone, and thank you for participating. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Bye-bye. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Bye-bye.